Welcome to B2B Off Mute, BOL's podcast taking a no-holds-barred deep dive into B2B's hottest topics, trends, need to know, and yes, salacious gossip. I'm Kahlow, CEO of BOL, and I will be your host as we are joined by industry leaders, innovators, and wannabes. Today's topic, our episode, is GA4, what marketers need to know and do to avoid a potentially catastrophic scenario. Yes, we're in media. We got to hype this. Today, I'm joined by BOL's Senior Director of Analytics and SEO, our resident expert, nerd, and total GA4 guru. Can I call you a guru? Our friend, Tim Herscovitch. Tim, welcome. It's time to go off mute. No, Tim, seriously, off mute.
All right, there we go. I thought I was past that. We are not past that. We're still doing it in 2023.
That's right. Let's do this. Topic 1. Google is sunsetting Universal Analytics and replacing it with GA4 as of July 1st, 2023. Are you ready?
This is not a drill. It's actually going away. Get real. It's happening.
Number 2. Google has created a migration tool that will automatically transfer Universal Analytics goals into Google Analytics 4 conversion events. Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Google. That's helpful, I guess. I would have liked a little bit more, but I'll take it.
And last topic, this is a hot one. Website and I repeat, and app data will be able to be tracked in the same property.
If you're an app person, congratulations. For me, just selfishly, don't really care that much.
Okay, Tim, how about we start with the benefits? I'm a positive guy. I want to start with the positive side of GA4. A lot of folks in marketing roles and RevOps are sitting on their Universal Analytics. They've invested for years, almost decades. Some could say they even love Universal Analytics. And the off-mute question I have for you is, for the love of God, why would you do this to me, Google? Is this a ploy to make my life hell or shake me down for more money? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, if we're going to put a positive spin on things, this is going to keep you out of being dragged into The Hague for international privacy crimes. I mean, that's really what this all stems from. It's all about GDPR. It's all about privacy compliance, and the EU's leading the way with this. They do not mess around when it comes to compliance and when it comes to the right to erasure and when it comes to people's right to just not be tracked across their digital goings on, right? So Google, understandably, has a bit of a financial and legal incentive to make sure that their gazillions of users using their analytics products aren't themselves getting into hot water or getting Google into hot water. And that's exactly what's happened with Universal Analytics. France especially got real mad, as they sometimes do. When it comes to people's rights,
right? That's how they're rioting, right, Tim?
Exactly. Yeah, they tend to actually care when their rights are getting trampled on. So there's definitely been a little bit of that, and Google's saying it's time. We got to rip the Band-Aid off, and we got to make sure that we're giving people the degree of anonymity that they deserve. And so, that's
what I'm
the
hearing in that
reason.
is, Tim, this is a response to France and the French men and women being upset. I get that. What is the biggest change between Universal Analytics and GA4?
Yeah, there's so many to speak of, but one of the first
I only want
ones that
one,
comes
Tim.
to
I'm
mind.
sorry. What is the one?
Only one? I got to pick only one? Oh man, you are just like a client right now. So I would say, the biggest thing is the switch to an event-based paradigm versus a hit-based or session-based paradigm. And that's what's going to freak a lot of people out, is moving away from this idea of you hop into your dashboard, you see the sessions, and then you get data based on those sessions. What did people in those sessions do? That's not the case with GA4. GA4 is this much more level playing field where everything is an event. Every action you can take is an event. And we just have this fire hose of data coming through that tells us about every click, every scroll, every page view, every add to cart, every white paper download, every form fill, every abandoned form, anything under the sun, anything you can do in a browser on a page, that's now an event. And that's the the paradigm that GA4 presents data in. And so if you're used to the old way where you're going in from this very traffic-based mindset, session-based mindset, and you go into the dashboard and you're kind of looking for your usual KPIs that you care about or things you like to look at, it's not going to be there. You're just going to see a lot of events. It's going to look like Ticketmaster up in there.
So let's talk about the challenges, right? I mean, obviously, it sounds like they're capturing a lot more from this events-based perspective. Can you migrate universal analytics historical data into GA4?
Great question. And I think a lot of people are not aware that no, you can't do that. When we hit July 1st, yeah, it's over.
Was Sergey sleeping on the job? Tim, what's going on over there at Google?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. They're just trying to make marketers' lives a little bit miserable over here. I get why it has to happen, but you can kiss your old data goodbye. Here's a good nugget for you that I think a lot of people don't know. So there's a feature in classic GA, Universal Analytics, called annotations, which is basically when a major change happens on your site, it's been best practice to drop an annotation into your analytics to say, hey, we completely changed the homepage. And so if you see a traffic spike or a KPI spike or dip after that, you can go back to something that happened 3 months ago and remember what might have caused that fluctuation. Annotations, they've been a core part of best practices for a long time. They're gone. Not only are you not going to be able to keep your annotations from UA in your new GA4, GA4 doesn't even have the ability to annotate in the first place. So I hope you have a good memory. Start taking that ginkgo biloba. Start, I don't know, doing Sudoku, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes is right. I love it. Well, this wouldn't be B2B Off Mute if we weren't talking about the hottest and most salacious of topics, right? So let's talk about it. AI, we love it, right? Machine learning, big data, LLMs, neural networks. You know, this isn't a podcast on a hot topic if we weren't talking about that. How are we incorporating AI into GA4?
So this would be on the positive side, right? I think there's a lot to gripe about from folks in our position about the changes with GA4. This is actually one of the improvements that's going to make this tool stronger. So, you know, AI and machine learning is just baked into GA4's methodology of data aggregation in the first place. So what that means is because we're so privacy focused now, we're so careful to make sure that we're not using third-party cookies and we're not getting user data that they haven't consented to. Because of that, we're going to end up with a lot of gaps in the actual data that we're able to ingest and then spit out in these lovely reports. And so to fill that gap, what Google is doing is modeling, using the latest version of their machine learning algorithms and their AI development to really fill in the blanks there and estimate in what we hope is a pretty accurate AI estimation of what actual traffic figures might be. So in other words, you got that pop-up on your site, right, where you're going to accept cookies. Well, a lot of people are going to deny cookies, right? So some huge percentage of people are just going to click deny. Pop-up comes, they don't want it. And so what are we going to do with all that missing data? Well, Google's going to take the data that we do have that has been consented to. They're going to crunch all that information up and they're going to spit out a more complete picture for us so that we can get that nice sample size and that good idea of what's actually going on the site. So that's a good thing. But also, Google is going to use that same technology to give us predictive analytics natively in GA4. So they're going to be able to predict when a given user cohort is likely to churn, for example, if that's an application for a business, or likely to convert. So they're able to, on the fly, make these assumptions about pockets of traffic, what they're likely to do, and bubble that up for you in a way that's easily accessible as a marketer, where you're like, oh wow, this campaign that's live, look at that. Google's spitting out real-time nuggets of information to me. And as we all know, that's one of the big time-consuming things, is digging through the data for, you know, the actionable insights that we can pull out. Google's going to help you find those with AI.
Okay, totally rogue question here. But we're saying with their predictive, they're going to be able to roll that at an aggregate level. So from a reporting perspective, they're going to give you a sense of what they think is happening, right? So they're trying to close that gap. But will they do that at an individual level from a predictive perspective?
No, actually on an individual level, this is another, hey, I like the silver linings here. This is another benefit of GA4 is getting user ID level data in Universal Analytics, old GA, was always a pain. It always took a bunch of custom work. It was always kind of wonky and really tough to make any strong insights about that data. That user level data is actually natively available in GA4. So we are able to track user journeys especially for folks that have consented, right? So we're going to get that data and be able to look at that in a separate view, if you will. And that's obviously huge for B2B applications where, it's a maybe lower volume of conversions or sales, if you will. And it becomes really, really important to get that user level insight. So that's going to be its own separate window.
Let's talk about a boots on the ground level. How is this switch going to affect marketers who have become so used to, Universal Analytics over the past, 10 plus years?
It's going to be massive. This just can't be overstated. I mean, I think even still with not very many days to go, people don't realize they are going to be, to a degree, data blind if they have not prepared for this. One of the main takeaways about GA4, if I really zoom out, is that out of the box, it's pretty bare bones. It is not great out of the box. It is meant to be customized. Now, Google's trying to make that evident within the UI to show you, hey, you're supposed to create these explorations. Hey, you're supposed to create these custom reports. You're supposed to configure what you want. They're giving you all the tools at your disposal. But as we know, marketers and RevOps folks have had their old Universal Analytics instances for a dozen years where they know where everything is and a lot of things were just available right away. People don't realize that the views that they've come to rely on, the measurement visualizations that they've come to rely on, the navigation paths that they take to find the data that they care about that's just been there for the taking at their fingertips, that is going away. GA4 is meant to be customized. And in my opinion, it's not a great reporting dashboard. I actually think this is maybe the biggest paradigm flip of all. More than ever now, GA is a data collector. And personally, I'm going to be recommending that we collect that data with GA4 and spit it into something a little more better suited for reporting like a Datarama.
Okay, let's move on to the practical, Tim. I'm a practical guy, aren't I? Bounce rate is dead. Welcome engagement rate. Talk to me about this. How are we exactly measuring engagement rate and why are we moving from bounces?
Yeah, so isn't that crazy? Bounce rate is dead. And the reason for that is because bounce rate is inherently a session-based metric, and GA4 is just not a session-based tool. So instead, we're looking at this percentage of engaged users, which could be anything. It could be clicked to at least 2 pages. It could be spent at least a certain amount of seconds on the site, took an action that we wanted. And so it's going to be total page view events, let's say, divided by those actual engagements. And so now we're looking at the percentage of users, real users, or modeled users that are taking those engagements.
Does a nerd like you care about Google Tag Manager going forward with GA4?
Listen, a nerd like me loves Google Tag Manager in general. I'll do 30 minutes for you just on GTM. Okay, don't get me too excited here, but I'm going to try to cool off a little bit and say that yes, this is a fantastic thing, especially for folks who are on the agency side, because GTM now lets us make all these little tweaks under the hood without having to rely on a client-side web developer, for example. So that's a great leap forward.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the shit hits the fan on July 1st across the board on all this. So we better get our act in gear. Is that right?
That is extremely right. Yes.
Okay.
You've got mail.
We're moving on to a section called You've Got Mail, right? Viewer mail. And Tim, I bet you've never in your entire life received fan mail, but that's okay. Nerds like you should stick to writing UTM and SQL code, okay? But
you don't know what goes on in my LinkedIn inbox. You got no idea. There's all sorts of adulation happening. But I digress.
All right, here's a couple questions for you. Number one, I did the automatic setup months ago. Am I covered, right?
No. If all you did was click, okay, create my GA4 instance, congratulations. That's the equivalent of starting a new blank Google Doc. That is really not enough to put yourself in a position to win with your business. No.
Next mailer question is, everything seems to be incorporating AI. Is AI a part of GA4? And clearly this person fell asleep on the podcast because we've already answered that. Tim, short answer is?
Yeah. Absolutely, yes, both in terms of the data modeling and the fact that they give you these little insight pop-ups with their little sparkly graphic that they have. It's really nice if you're a fan of little sparkly icons. It'll show you the actionable insights that it wants you to take, and that's based on actually using artificial intelligence to analyze your data.
Is switching to GA4 really as big as a deal and all the noise that they're making it to be out there? Or is this like politics, Tim, isn't it? Where Google is that politician that's getting no newsworthy coverage, right? Just like ChatGPT is taking up all the buzz. And this is their way of, gaining the news cycle, right? So they create the storming of GA4, just like storming the Capitol.
Definitely. I mean, there might be a riot when it comes to marketers just freaking out about this because of this change. But no, there's no way they would draw down the wrath of all of these extremely buff and intimidating analytics professionals if they could avoid it. So I think this one's real.
We're now finally to the last section of our broadcast today, which is the wrap up. And clearly this could be fake news. And my question is, the MyPillow guy up to something again?
I hope not. Hopefully he's going to lose all ability to analyze his website traffic on July 1st.
There you have it. Give me 3 words to wrap up this session, Tim. 3 words.
Get ready now.
Get ready now. And with that, I thank you for your nerddom. That was awesome. Tim Herscovitch. Thanks for joining us, listeners, today. I hope you had as much fun as Tim did, because I certainly did not. Hope you enjoyed the show. Subscribe to B2B Off Mute, and you'll hear great episodes coming in the future.